Welcome back to the channel. This is the Action Figure Grader, and we're going to do kind of a potpourri style of different items that sold. Lots of loose graded, some ungraded items, some loose complete items. It's just kind of a weird mishmash, which I like to do sometimes, kind of cleaning out the watch lists and just have some stuff in here that I wanted to cover in more detail. So thank you as always for watching. Be sure to leave me a like if you do enjoy my content, my price guides. Really appreciate those of you that watch the channel. All right, so let's take a look. The first one, we've just got just a straight up blue snags. Nothing fancy on this one, but I did think it was a pretty fair deal. Just looking at it, it had some light wear to the boots, obviously, which is a common problem, but overall, pretty clean. No torso discoloration. The belt buckle looked pretty good. Think it probably gets about an 80 grade. And, $435 was the final winning bid on that. I thought that was a very, very fair price for what it was. Again, I think if you sent this in to get graded with one of the grading companies, AFA 80 all day long, CAS 80, somewhere in there. And very fair price relative to what you have to pay sometimes for an AFA 80 graded blue snags. It can be $800 plus versus paying $435 and rolling the dice yourself, taking the grading risk yourself. You can often get a discount on some of these items out there. So I thought that was a pretty good one to roll the dice on and grade. Here is a loose graded 12-inch C-3PO. You don't see the 12-inch loose graded very much, mainly because AFA doesn't really do that anymore, to my knowledge. I think they only grade the 3 3/4-inch figures, but this one was an AFA 80 12-inch C-3PO. That one sold for $173.50. Not a terrible deal. And here was an AFA 80 mint and sealed box 12-inch Luke Farm Boy. I thought this was a pretty good one. I had it on my watch list, and I was going to send it out to my Patreon supporters. I was like, $1,200 for AFA 80? Probably about right. That seems to be a pretty good price. And then I went to the gym, and then by the time I got back, it had sold. So and that happens sometimes. But this seller, I thought, priced this one right on the money. Very, very fair price for an AFA 80, and it did sell fairly quickly. Very nice example. Here was a final Cape Jawa. I was kind of curious to see whether this one would sell. $2,500, and it was only an AFA 75. And so I didn't send this out to my Patreons, but I did watch it just to see if it would sell. And it did sell at $2,500. So vinyl Cape Jawas, no matter what the grade, and I'm not saying a 75 is terrible. I mean, it's an excellent plus / near mint. But, I sold my AFA 85 for around $3,200. We've seen some UKG graded examples go at this price or maybe slightly more that are higher grade. But it is AFA versus UKG versus CAS. We know that there are collectors that are not willing to be satisfied unless they have an AFA graded example. But this one had the archival case AFA 75 for $2,500, and it did sell for that. Here I thought was a very good deal. And again, this seller is one I have bought from. But his items only now show up on eBay UK. So if you're watching as the seller, you might want to figure out your settings, because I could only find his items now on eBay UK. They don't even show up on eBay USA. And I bought from this seller. He shipped from the UK to me, and I've been very happy with him. And I know that he'll ship to the US. But this one I thought went for well below fair market value. This was a no COO. I call this one the Palatoy Luke. It's the light brown hair. Archival AFA 85 new case style, and it sold for $349. I mean, here in the US, this particular variant would go for double that. $650, maybe higher. I'd say $650 is about right. So maybe not quite double, but pretty darn close. Pretty darn close. And for an AFA 85 archival case, brand new case style, that one went for well below fair market value. So and this seller has really great stuff, so you want to check them out, especially if you're in the UK, because you don't have to worry about messaging them to say, hey, I'm not a crazy person, can you please ship it to the US? But if you're in the UK already, he's got some really great high grade items, lots of tri logos, stuff like that. So Might want to add him to your watch list for sellers. This was an AFA 85 plus from Vaults of Yavin for Boba Fett. This was a Taiwan, so in all fairness, it sold for 600 though. That seems like a really high number to me. Again, it was an 85 plus gold level, so that could be a factor. That I think personally, with how Boba Fett's have been selling, loose graded, high grade Boba Fett's have been selling, I don't think it hit $600 in an auction. That's just my guess. I think it probably tops out max at about 500 right now. Boba Fett's have come down. Loose graded Boba Fett's have come down in price, no matter which ones you're talking about. Even like the painted helmet Taiwan Boba Fett has really come down a lot in price. The tri-logo light blue uniform, the Spanish PBPs, those have even come down in price. So I personally wouldn't overpay, even for a high-grade example like this. I wouldn't overpay. I would wait for an auction because they do come up occasionally. AFA 90s, AFA 85 pluses. And I think if you're patient, you can get it for less than that. You may not care, all right? If you're the kind of person that don't care and you want to just get it, knock it out, and check that box, I get it. I'm not going to kill you over $600. It's a trusted seller, too. I bought from this seller. Really good stuff. Very high grade, loose graded AFA items. But I do think that 600 is at the upper end. This was an interesting one that I had in a What to Buy video a couple of weeks back. This one is just a loose graded UKG 85 Darth Vader, standard Hong Kong, but it was encapsulated with the Bounty Hunter capture log. And I did hear from a couple of you guys that this was Palatoy exclusive. I don't ever see this here in the US, so I think that this is a Palatoy exclusive item. It's very cool. I don't know if it's related to the Dengar Palatoy mail away or not, but very interesting case style there, and I kind of like it, to be honest with you. I thought it was worth every penny of 123 pounds, which is 153 US dollars. That one did not ship to the US, but that's a pretty cool looking item. Kind of a unique item if you have a Darth Vader or Boba Fett focus or both. I thought that was a very good deal for that price. All right, so here's an interesting thing too. So I sent this out to my Patreon supporters and I said, hey, look, one of these just sold in the US for more than what this one was listed for. And this one had a make an offer option. It's the Probot UKG 90 gold level. This is obviously the robot that was packed in with the turret and Probot playset. And one of those just sold in an auction that I'll get to in a second. But this one came up a few days later. So I sent it out to my Patrons. I don't know if one of y'all bought it or not. It sold very quickly. But, it was listed for 350 pounds, which is $436. And I said, one of them just sold over here in the U.S. for way more than that. You might want to grab that. So that's that one. That one came out after this one. This was a UKG 85, too. And when I sent it out on Patreon, it's the same grade. It was actually a higher grade than what this one was. This one, it was in the U.S. versus the other one that I just showed you, the 90 grade. That one was in the U.K. So you did have to pay $44 shipping. But still, it was at $436 with the make an offer. This one, in an auction, lower grade, UKG 85, that one sold in an auction here in the U.S. for $600. So very similar to what we were just talking about with the Vinyl Cape Jawas and the Palatoy, Luke. Here in the U.S., this Palatoy Luke AFA 85 archival case, $600. In the UK, it's $350. The Probot in a higher grade in the UK is $436. Here in the US, a lower grade is $600. So it's pretty wild to see the price differentiation between the UK and the US for some of these items. And it's pretty wild. That same seller also had a UKG 85 Tauntaun. You don't see a loose graded Tauntaun very often. AFA stopped doing that. CAS still does it, but UKG and CAS are the only two that do the graded Tauntaun, and it does look really cool. I give you that. That one sold for $330. We had a custom here with a speeder bike and a UKG 85 Biker Scout. This is the Made in Hong Kong variation for the Biker Scout. That one sold for $449. $449. So big price on that. And then we had the UKG 85 Rebo band, but again, I don't understand how it can get an 85 when you got that much discoloration on Max Rebo. I mean, he is very discolored there. And maybe that happened after grading, in all fairness to UKG. But that's a 75 grade figure to me. And it's still sold at $513. So that just shows you. And, I think to a certain extent it's okay. I mean, I'm not trying to dog whoever bought this. It is what it is. But I do think that one has discolored at some point. So you got to really look closely at these items and not overpay. And factor it into your prices. But anyway, I just thought I'd point that out. This was a cool item. This was from Gold Star Tech. This was a factory sealed Ralph McQuarrie artwork portfolio. And I've actually seen an AFA graded example of this. The Blacked Out Ewoks on YouTube. He has an AFA graded one of these. So I thought that was pretty cool. And this one was still factory sealed. It was originally $10. It sold for $68. But it's got that really cool, concept art for Luke Skywalker, where he's got the breathing mask and then the very stylized mask for Darth Vader on that cover. I just thought that was a really cool item. And the art that's actually inside this portfolio is very cool, by the way. It's got like kind of prints that you can just look through, and it's all kind of the early concept art by Ralph McQuarrie. So not a bad deal for $68. That would make a nice coffee table piece if you don't want to grade it. That's pretty cool. Here was that 6-pack of baggies, very, very rare, but this one had ink touch-up on the box, as disclosed by CIB. All of the baggies were still factory sealed, as you can see there. One of my Patreon supporters, he said, hey, I'm putting in a bid for $2,800. Do you think that will win it? And I said, I have no idea. It seems like a pretty good price to me, given that it has ink touch-up on the box. And you can't grade this particular item even qualifiable because of the ink touch-up. And he bid $2,800 and he still lost. It sold at $2,850. So tough loss on that one, just given how nice this is. It's a very, very rare 6-pack. And it's a shame that it did have the ink touch-up. I don't see it, but I'm sure it's there somewhere since AFA says it's there. But very, very rare 6-pack. One of the rarest multi-packs for the Empire Strikes Back line. And it's just got great box art. Look how beautiful that is. That's very, very cool. But that did sell, even with the ink touch-up. It sold for $2,850. Massive number on that. This was a buy it now, which I thought wasn't a terrible deal. 65A Han Solo AFA 80. It was a punched example, but crystal clear blister. That sold for $850, which I thought was a good deal. Very fair deal. I would argue that in an auction, it would sell for right around that price, if not even above it. So very good buy it now price of $850 for a 65A. Anytime you can get a Han Solo, original first 12 Han Solo on a Return of the Jedi card back, no matter which one it is, alternate image or the standard image, and it's got a clear blister, you're going to pay big money for it. And $850 I thought was a very fair deal, even relative to what the AFA 90 that sold on Hakes. It was an AFA 90, and that one sold for, I think, $1,900 if memory serves, $1,900 and change. So $850 for an AFA 80. Yes, please. I'd pay that. I'd pay that in a heartbeat. Next up, I thought this was an interesting sale. This was a punched example, but clear blister, AFA 80 for 8D8. And it was listed for a big number. I didn't think it would sell. This is actually somebody I know. He's got the most amazing mint on card collection that ever existed. I mean, other than maybe Jeff Jacob, but now that Jeff has sold off his collection, I think that this guy has the best. I'm not going to name him, but I think this is who it is anyway. I think it is. Don't quote me. But he has the most incredible mint on card collection now, I would argue, of anybody. And this one was a true clear blister 8D8, clear inner tray, AFA 80. It did sell at $1,300. So big number there. A couple of coins. This was an AFA 90 Stormtrooper Power of the Force coin. That one sold for $227.50. But the big one was the AFA 90 Boba Fett coin. Power of the Force Boba Fett coin. Very, very cool coin on that. I love the art on that coin. Look at that final sales price. $20.37. So that was a big number. Wow, look at that. That is crazy. Next up, we had a clear blister Power of the Force Biker Scout graded AFA 80. You can see there it's got the clear blister label and no yellow designation, 80, 85, 80. And looking at it, it still looks clear to me. Now, in all fairness, the Biker Scout is one of the weird ones for the Power of the Force line where you do occasionally see clear blisters. They don't yellow for some reason. I don't know why. This one and the AT-ST driver on the Power of the Force card, they tend to stay clear. And this is one of them. But this was a beautiful unpunched example, and it was listed for $2,300. I did not think this would sell. I thought that was too high. The Biker Scout on the Power of the Force card has come down in price quite a bit. It used to go for this $2,300 number, but I did not think it would sell. But it did sell at $2,300, so what do I know? Clearly, I don't know what I'm talking about. Next up was an AFA 80 factory sealed Y-Wing fighter. That one sold for $2,500. It's interesting. After the Jeff Jacobs auction ended, there's been a lot of stuff that's come on eBay, and they see these massive prices, and people that are holding similar items, like the clear blister Biker Scout, like the 8D8 clear blister, and they're throwing them up there for big boy prices, and they're selling. They are selling. So this was an AFA 80. It sold for $2,500. That seems like a big, big number to me. And then some proof cards after Jeff Jacobs. It might have been in and around the Jeff Jacobs auction, but I'm pretty sure that all three of these Revenge of the Jedi proof cards did sell after the Hakes Session 1 ended for the Jeff Jacob collection. This was a UKG 90. It sat for a while. I had this in a What to Buy video at least a month ago. UKG 90, it did sell for 1,250 pounds, which is $1,560. And then those other two proofs that I had mentioned on my channel as being pretty fair deals. AFA 85 Power Droid, that one did sell at $2,250. And the Revenge of the Jedi Hoth Stormtrooper card, this one was, I think, ungraded. It was just a sliding acrylic case. And that one sold for $2,700. $2,700. So ungraded for that. I wouldn't pay that personally. I'd think about paying in the twos for an AFA 85 or 90 grade, but not an ungraded one, especially because he did note, a little divot there on the card that'll bring that score down if you decided to grade it. But it was nice. I'm not trying to say it wasn't nice, but I don't think it was $2,700 nice. That's my personal opinion. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this look at recent sales across a wide variety of different toys and proof cards and things like that for the vintage Kenner line. Thank you, as always, for watching, and I'll be back soon.